The newest entry in the Pokemon franchise is Gen 9, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. They're set to release on November 18th, 2022. Gen 9 will be the first actual open world game since the franchise launched in 1996. We've had a glimpse of what this would look like with Legends Arceus, and the reviews on that game are overall very positive. Yes, you're very limited to certain areas, yes, it's very easy to find and catch shinies, and yes, there's a lot, and I mean a lot of talking to NPCs. But overall, Legends Arceus surprised most Pokemon fans, including myself. With the map accessibility options, including climbing, riding, surfing, and gliding on Pokemon, most people felt like this was the first step into the future of the franchise. There's been a lot of controversy and complaints about previous entries, and fans felt unheard by Game Freak. For the past few years, Pokemon games have been very easy. The Let's Go series tried something new, where the game revolved around catching and not so much on battling. People disliked Gen 8 because it was too easy, too bland looking, bad storytelling, and had an incomplete Pokédex. I agree with some of the complaints the franchise had in the past few years, however, I feel like some people forget Pokemon's target audience are children. And I know us Gen Zs and Millennials are upset it's too easy for us, but in the end, the games are not meant to be for us. On the other hand, I do think it wouldn't be too hard for Game Freak to implement different difficulties within the game. This way, the fans who want to feel frustrated the way they did when trying to beat Cynthia's Garchomp for the first time can experience that throughout a whole game. But then again, most of us are still able to enjoy the games while being quite easy. This video, however, is going to be focused on Scarlet and Violet. Like I said before, this is going to be the first entry within the franchise that's going to be open world, ready for you and me to explore. We've already seen some in-game footage like battles, making sandwiches, raids, and of course new Pokemon. I want to base my conclusion on whether these games are going to be good or bad on 5 points. New Pokemon, world design, options within the game, new features, and performance. Starting off with new Pokemon. As of the time of recording this video, we've seen the starters, Sprigatito, Fuecoco, and Quaxly. We've also met Lechonk, Smoliv, Pawmi, Cetitan, Fidough, Grafaier, Cyclizar, Cloth, Armarouge, Cerulege, Wiglet, Farigiraf, Bellibolt, Paldean Wooper, Greavard, and the two legendaries Koraidon and Miraidon. I feel like most Pokemon on this list definitely give off a good Pokemon vibe. The reason I'm saying that is because I feel like for the past few years, a lot of Pokemon didn't feel like Pokemon, if that makes any sense. I absolutely love the starters, however, I feel like the Peppercroc Fuecoco doesn't fit into the starter category. I've said this before, but Fuecoco doesn't give me the same vibe starters usually give me. I still think it's a very cool looking Pokemon nonetheless. Lechonk, the normal type Piggy, and Smoliv, the grass normal type, are just really cute basic looking Pokemon. They both give me the feeling like they're going to be in the first few routes or areas of the game, and I think that would fit them perfectly. Like we do every generation, we're getting a new Pikachu clone. This time that's Pawmi, the electric mouse type Pokemon. I've seen some negativity about its design, but I think it's a very cute looking Pokemon and it's definitely worthy of carrying the Pikachu clone title. Cetitan, the ice type Terra Will, is definitely my personal least favorite on this list. I just don't get any feelings when looking at it. Fidough is a cute fairy type with puffy doughy rolls for ears, and it's giving me Yemper/Swirlix vibes. Grafaier, the poison normal type Pokemon, reminds me of Impidimp in combination with Smeargle, since the overall looks give me Impidimp vibes, and Grafaier likes the paint, which reminds me of Smeargle. Next up is Cyclizar, the dragon normal type. He's definitely a cool looking fella, however, looking at him makes me think Koraidon was the inspiration for this Pokemon or the other way around, which makes it less special. Cloth, the rock type crab. We've seen it in its Titan form. The design isn't too appealing to me personally, but I feel like it's good enough. Armarouge, the fire psychic warrior Pokemon. I usually don't like humanoid Pokemon, but with his set of golden yellow armor and his fiery ponytail and confident stance, I think they made the right choice making him humanoid. Its counterpart, Cerulege, the fire ghost type, is one of my personal favorites on this list. Yes, he looks really edgy, but it fits too well. Cerulege is 100% going to be on my team since I feel like it's one of the coolest designs. For those who don't know yet, Armarouge is exclusively on Scarlet while Cerulege is only in Violet. Wiglet. Our old friend Diglett is getting an upgrade with its new water typing and classification as a garden eel. He's definitely one of the more goofy looking ones on the list, but I don't really mind. The design overall is a little boring, but his animation makes up for it. Farigiraf, the normal psychic evolution of Girafarig. Once again, an old Pokemon getting some love from Game Freak. I don't hate the design personally, but I think it's a little too boring. Bellibolt, the electric type frog. I absolutely love it. Every generation needs this friendly, funny looking Pokemon that you just want to be friends with. To me, that's a Bellibolt. Paldean Wooper, another old beloved friend, and I love the fact that Wooper is getting some attention. The brown and light purple color scheme fits it really well. But just like Wiglet, I feel like the design doesn't really add much to his previous form. Greavard, the ghost dog Pokemon. It's based on Spanish mythology with its kind of dark habits. At first it may seem like a really friendly and fun dog, until, and I quote, Greavard will slowly and inadvertently absorb the life force of those around it. One of my favorites that have been revealed so far as well. However, I might be biased on this one since I love ghost typings. The two legendaries, Koraidon, the Scarlet legendary, and Miraidon, the Violet legendary. Like I've said before, I feel like Koraidon looks like an evolved version of Cyclizar, and it's also giving me Kommo vibes. In my opinion, it doesn't really qualify as a legendary in terms of design. Miraidon, however, looks really majestic to me, a mighty futuristic dragon that screams legendary. Koraidon and Miraidon will also be used to fly, climb, ride, and surf, which makes them functional besides being legendaries. I like the idea, but the way they transform into these modes looks funny to me. I guess I'm just gonna have to wait and see for myself once the games release. Some content creators have already had the opportunity to play these games for a few hours. All of them stated they could use the legendaries in their different forms. We don't know yet if this is just for the demo, or if the legendaries are going to be accessible from the start, which would be kind of lame in my opinion. Overall, I'm positively surprised on the newly revealed Pokemon, and I can't wait to see what other Pokemon await us in the Paldea region. Now moving on to the world design. The world design within the Pokemon universe has always been one of my favorites, even when the games were nothing but pixelated towns and environments. I clearly remember my first time walking into Lavender Town and immediately getting these spooky vibes. Most Pokemon games will follow the same type of environments implemented within them. A calm forest, a cozy forest, an aggressive icy storm area, a puzzlish cave, a big town with lots of shops and other things to do in them, and the list goes on. We've seen some beautiful landscapes in the past, like the flower fields in Floroma Town. It's one of those places you only have to visit once to remember it forever. Looking at the Paldea map, we can immediately see things we've seen before and love, but there's also a giant vortex looking circle in the middle, covered with a giant mountain. I'm really curious on what that's going to be. This vortex is obviously the center of attention when looking at the map, and when I look at everything around it, it feels like all of the landscapes are drawn to this center. Let me know if you see this as well, or if I'm just going crazy. So far, in Paldea, we've seen a few different landscapes and places. We know it's inspired by Mediterranean Spain, which to me seems really cool. From someone who has a family member with a house in Spain, your own house within Scarlet and Violet looks a lot like what some of the houses look like over there. The area around your house is full of flowers and greens, which really makes the area come to life. The town square with the big star in the middle, which I assume is going to be the main city, is looking really nice. Whenever I visited Motostoke and Sword and Shield, I felt uneasy and unsatisfied with the industrial look. It was obviously a design choice, but far from my preference. Looking at the main city in Scarlet and Violet, it seems there are some historical accurate buildings which I absolutely love. We haven't seen too much of the different areas, but from what we've seen from gameplay that has been shown by either the Pokemon Company themselves or content creators who got to play early, the map looks incredibly big. Especially once you realize the players only got to see about 1/5 of the full map in the demo. Several people stated that they could actually go wherever they wanted to go, which makes sense for an open world game, and that there's something to do pretty much everywhere. From finding items to new Pokemon, and from Team Star bases to free roaming with the legendaries. I really hope it's not going to be like the wild area in the Sword and Shield main game, DLCs excluded, where you walk into the wild area for the first time and just feel underwhelmed after about 2 minutes of walking around. I also want to add that the early players mentioned using the legendaries to maneuver around was really smooth and fluently executed, even more so than in Legends Arceus. Also Legends Arceus related, we're going to have overworld Pokemon again. I absolutely love this. However, I do hope there's going to be plenty of patches with tall grass as well, since I actually like the little element of surprise of not knowing what you're going to encounter. Like in the Let's Go series and Legends Arceus, we're also going to be able to see shinies in the overworld. Unlike Legends though, wild Pokemon won't start attacking you, which I think is a bummer, but I feel like once we get to play these games, we'll realize that it's with good reason. I feel like they wouldn't just remove the dodge ability on your character and the attacking Pokemon for no reason. We've yet to see a lot more about the world design in these games, but so far, based on the footage we have, the map is looking great, and I think we're in for a good ride. Now point 3 and point 4, options within the game and new features might sound similar, and I guess they are in a lot of ways. However, the way I'm differentiating one from the other in this video has everything to do with the small detail of the words option and features. I feel like options will always be an option, as you'll come across new features one way or another. That being said, let's start off with options within the game. TMs return to the franchise once more in their full glory. They break after using them once, as it should be, in my opinion. One very cool option in Scarlet and Violet is the creation of TMs using the TM machine. You'll be able to find one of these in every Pokemon Center. To make TMs, you're going to need materials and league points. More on them later. The Battle Stadium is making a return as well. The Battle Stadium will allow you to play 4 different modes: casual, ranked, online competitions, and rental teams. For online competitions, you can play either friendly competitions, which are set up by other trainers, or enter official competitions, where rules may already be set up by Game Freak. A huge update in the games is the option to play with 4 people. This is the first time you'll be able to play Pokemon with more than 2 people. We don't yet know if this will be for online or local multiplayer, or maybe even both. This time around, the games are not only open world, but you'll be able to explore wherever, whenever you want, at your own pace. If you want to start with the last gym leader, you can do so if you wish. There are 3 story paths you can follow in these games. The reason I'm putting these paths into options rather than the new features point is because you can choose when, how, and if you even want to follow these paths. The 3 paths are the Victory Road, the Path of Legends, and Starfall Street. Victory Road will be the most familiar to Pokemon trainers, and we'll see you take on the traditional 8 gym leader gauntlet. One twist to this long-standing formula, however, is that you'll be able to tackle the gyms in any order you want, like I've stated previously. You'll also be able to take on the Pokemon League at the end of it all too. The second path is Path of Legends, which will see you hunting down rare Herba Mystica, ingredients which are apparently meant to restore your health immediately. These herbs are guarded by Titan Pokemon, or Giant Pokemon. Think of Alpha Pokemon in Legends Arceus. The last story path is Starfall Street. This is where you'll get to challenge the Generation 9's villainous team in a gauntlet of battles. Once you get through the barrage, you'll face off against the group's boss. I don't know yet how all of these options will come together, especially since you get to choose how you're playing the game, but I feel confident that Game Freak has tested this playstyle enough for them to be comfortable enough to release it. Moving on to the new features. Obviously the new TM machine is a new feature as well, but like I said, I feel like that should be more like an option. I'm also not going to talk about the sandwiches since we've had making food in the past. Some people have stated that the sandwiches are also going to play a huge role when it comes to shiny hunting. However, there isn't enough information on this for me to decide whether it'll be a game breaker. The customization in Paldea. You'll be able to customize your character more freely than ever before. Hair salons will also make a return with multiple new hairstyles to choose from. A new feature is the option to change your eye shape. One thing I really like about the customization this time is the option for hair and face are no longer gender locked. Then there's the Titan Pokemon. We don't really know much about them yet, apart from them being huge Pokemon like the Alphas in Legends Arceus. The only thing we know so far is, like I've said before, the Titan Pokemons will be guarding the Herba Mystica. There's also a couple of new moves, abilities, and items. Starting off with the new moves, we have Shed Till, which allows the Pokemon to create a substitute while sacrificing some of its HP, and also swap with the party Pokemon in waiting. Terra Blast, a move that changes a Pokemon's Terra type once it has terrestrialized. The damage type is determined whether the physical or special stat is higher. Armor Cannon, a fire type special move known to be used by Armarouge, and while it blasts out blazing projectiles, it also lowers the user's defense and special defense. Bitter Blade, a fire type physical move that Cerulege can use. It absorbs life energy from the enemy and gives it back to the user. Moving on to the new abilities, we have Anger Shell, only known to be learned by Cloth so far. Anger Shell activates when the big rocky crab's health drops below half. It lowers defense and special defense, but boosts attack, special attack, and speed. Armor Till, a strong ability known by Farigiraf. Armor Till will prevent the opposing Pokemon from using priority moves. Caught Chew, one of Farigiraf's new abilities. Caught Chew activates when you feed your Pokemon a berry. This allows it to get an additional use out of the berry in the next turn. Electromorphosis, introduced alongside Belly Bolt. This ability means that the Pokemon's next electric type move gets a boost after it's been hit. Moving on to the new items, we have Cover Cloak. The Pokemon holding this item will become immune to the opposing move's additional effects. Loaded Dice. Loaded Dice ups the chance of a Pokemon's multi-hit move hitting a higher amount of times. And then we have Mirror Herb, which allows the Pokemon to mirror all of the opponent's stat increases. Moving over to the next feature, we have the new Let's Go Auto Battle feature. You can send your lead Pokemon out into the wild on its own thanks to the Let's Go command, which is sort of like in Legends Arceus. This instruction sends the Pokemon in front of your team towards the nearest Pokemon and lets them take on in battle with you, the trainer, getting involved. This can also be used to pick up items on the field, and you'll also be able to use this feature in the Team Star base. Last but definitely not least, we have Terrestrializing. Generation 9's unique mechanic is known as the Terrestrial Phenomenon. Pokemon across the Paldea region can transform into a sparkling, glimmering, gem-like creatures. The Pokemon will also get a rather big jewel or crown thing on their head, depending on its Terra type. Terrestrialized Pokemon can be encountered in the wild by finding a sparkling or glowing Pokemon on the field and by walking up to it. Every single Pokemon has a Terra type, and the same Pokemon can even have different ones as well. So for example, not all EVs will be a normal type Terra type. A Terra type can be one of the 18 existing types in the game. You can force a rival Pokemon out of its terrestrialized form by simply doing enough damage to it. To terrestrialize a Pokemon, you'll need a Terra Orb, and you can only use it once it's charged up with energy. After using it in battle, it'll run out, so you'll need to go and recharge it at a Pokemon Center or find some crystals out in the world to fill it up. To me, these new features are really cool and I can't wait to try them out. Moving over to the performance, this is going to be a short topic. Some people were skeptical about the performance for these new games after seeing the initial trailer. But when we look at the latest Japanese gameplay trailer, you'll notice the performance has improved a lot. We do know Game Freak has never been the best at optimizing their games on the Switch so far, but maybe they'll exceed our expectations this time. I don't expect to see any game-breaking performance issues. We might run into some FPS drops, like when we're in an area like the Viridian Forest in the Let's Go series. Before a final verdict, I'll be rating each point from 1 to 10. The new Pokemon. So far, I'm gonna have to give this a solid 8 for now. We've yet to see a lot of new ones, and I feel like they could have done a better job on Koraidon and the new forms for Wiglet and Wooper. World design. We haven't even seen half of the map, but from what we've seen, I'm really excited. Also, looking at the map, I think this region is going to be really good. For now, I'll give this a 7.5. Options within the game. I'm more than satisfied with the options in the game, and therefore giving this a solid 9. The new features, I think Terrestrializing is going to be a super cool and unique gimmick, which I think might bring me back to competitive Pokemon. The other new features are nothing too special, but still a good improvement. For this reason, I'm giving the new features an 8.5. The performance. I feel like this will be fine, but not great. For that reason, from what we've seen, it's getting a 6.5. It will never run as smooth as Breath of the Wild, even though I think Game Freak should be able to pull this off. So overall, for now, Pokémon Scarlet and Violet are getting a 7.9 from me. I feel like this should be able to become a higher grade once we actually get to play the games, but a 7.9 is a solid number for now. So, all things considered, do I think Scarlet and Violet will be good games or bad games? I think they're gonna be good and have the potential to become great. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments what you want to see next or what you thought about the video, maybe your own opinions, and maybe even subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed. See you guys later.